everybody. You have to forgive the messy windows. You know, there's another video that I may or may not post. I don't know. I was kind of absent-minded on it, but basically, I was driving through a snowstorm the other day. Truck is a little bit dirty. Apparently, Denver likes to salt their roads with like pure mud. You know, which is why you see all that gunk up there and all that. I went through all of my washer fluid just trying to get into Denver. But anyways, I'm heading over to my next location. Pick up a load, gonna take me back down to LA. And I'm sitting there driving on this long, boring road. So coming up with a bunch of ideas for a couple videos that I could make to keep the whole vlog thing going. Couple of regular stories, you know, things that like every YouTube truck driver talks about. You know, the first one being what actually got me into the field of trucking. And I've been sitting there trying to think about, you know, the best way to tell that. Really, the story is kind of a long one. I mean, because the thing spans like a couple of decades. But so what I might have to end up doing is taking this video and splitting it in half. Talk about it. But I figured that I might as well get, you know, my story. You know, the reason why I got into it. Just like how every truck driver out there talks about their reason. As we drive down this winter wonderland of flatness. Not a lot to look at out here. This is 287 South. We're still in Colorado for the moment. We got about 40 miles to go before we get to Lamar, and then we'll get on to US 50 and ride that to our destination. But anyways, you know, the whole idea of trucking for me actually started a long time ago. You know, I was one of those kids who grew up in the 80s when the family would go on road trips across states. You know, back then it was actually cheaper to drive to a place than fly there. So I spend a lot of time on the road. We didn't have Game Boys or cell phones or anything back then, so a lot of your time was spent looking out the window, playing that little road trip bingo game that you could pick up from the truck stops. You know, it had like a magnetic back, certain amount of boxes, things that you can see on the road. You put a little tack on it, but we would sit there and pass the big trucks. The big trucks always fascinated me, the old Pete's and stuff like that. And of course, you know, you always stuck your arm out the window, did the arm pump thing, get them to honk. You don't see that a lot anymore nowadays. But I always thought it'd be really fun and fascinating to be a truck driver one day. So I had this whole big plan set up. The first part of the plan was to actually join the military, and I actually wanted to do the same thing there too. I wanted to drive the big trucks in the military and haul around tanks and stuff like that. So I was getting all set up for that. They said that I was going to go into C Company, which is the logistics group. And then, I don't know, I was probably going to do like 4 or 8 years of that. And then come out and get my license and just drive trucks on the road. So that plan was always there. Unfortunately, because of certain things in my past, I was actually ineligible to join. And rather than just go straight into trucking, I kind of put that idea on the back burner because I spent the next 8 years working dead-end jobs like throwing freight and stuff like that, while trying to fight the thing that kept me out. So I spent like eight years trying to fight to get in to the service. And once I finally gave up on that, I still didn't even really like move on and try to do something better, you know. By that point in time, I had gotten used to a routine with these jobs I was doing. You know, ended up throwing a lot of freight for a lot of grocery stores. Eventually, at one point in time, I got a second job as a bartender. Open up a bar each morning. I did that because my coworkers and I would finish up throwing freight at night, go to this bar that was open in the morning, and then stay there till about noon. And our morning bartender didn't show up one day, and instead of buying store from like the gas station that was there or whatnot, we actually waited until somebody showed up, and they told us that the bartender basically grabbed the tail of a man. And I was sitting there drinking and started thinking to myself, you know, it'd be really fun to be a bartender. So I put my name and phone number on a napkin and went and told them, you know, hey, I've got zero experience in this, but, you know, if you need somebody to come in the morning, open up, I'm willing to learn. So I ended up being a bartender for like 5 years. And then during that time, I ended up quitting the freight throwing job. I kind of walked out on it. They were, you know, what they were doing was just BS. And essentially, they said that I would never move up in the ranks or anything. So I was like, all right, well, I'm out. And went and got another job working as a contractor for HP, testing printers. Ended up doing that for about 10 years. So if you ever got a question about an HP printer, I could probably answer it. But big thing to point out during that time is that you know, all that took place between like 2000 up to about what's a bit up to probably about 2015, somewhere around there. You know, I have been noticing for that whole time that each year like the cost of living for things kept going up. You know, rent kept going up, bills kept going up, even like groceries, fuel, all of that stuff kept going up. The thing that never changed in the whole time was income. You know, the companies that I was working for, they stopped handing out raises. Like if you wanted to get a raise at like Walmart, while throwing freight, you had to basically learn like every single department in the store. You know, just the basics. You didn't have to like get really crazy with it. And that gave you like a 10-cent raise. You know, you learn essentially how the whole store works, and they give you a dime for all of your efforts. Working as a contractor, I mean, the only way to get a raise was to get a promotion in something. And I had worked my way up to a technician. It's not an easy thing to do, because a lot of times once people get into a tech job, they tend to sit there for a really long time. But I managed to get up there. I thought I was doing pretty good for a while, even though I was still going paycheck to paycheck. Then, you know, unfortunately, like I said, you know, the job is a contractor job. Contracts have a tendency to change hands. And the contract for the toner lab, which is where I worked, fell into the hands of this HP manager who had the tendency to cut budgets, you know, downsize things in his effort to look good to his management. So he got his hands on the lab and walked in there and immediately said, oh, you know, we don't need all of these contractors in here. You know, we're going to downsize them, downsize the positions, the authorities, whatnot. So those of us that were in there, we had to make a couple choices. You know, either find something, either get a promotion to something else, move laterally to another tech spot, choose to stay in the lab but take a pay cut, or you end up back in life test. And I tried to do the lateral move, but I couldn't find any other group that would take me in. And by the time that I realized that was going to be a no-go, all of the spots in the lab had been taken. So I really didn't have much of a choice but to go back to an area called life test, which I don't know, the best way to describe life test is like being stuck in purgatory. You know, I mean, it is like seriously one of the most boring, monotonous jobs ever. Especially given my newfound position, which was something called a media handler. literally the only thing I did was sit at the computer all day, updating like a certain screen, and every time an employee needed media, I would get up and go gather what they asked for and go take it to them. That was my job. It was horrible. It was a spot that required absolutely no thinking. There was no other real activity to it. So just sat there at that desk, like slowly going crazy. But the thing that got to me about that was really the fact that I got downsized, right? I mean, I had worked so hard to get up to this position, just to have somebody come along and kick my feet out from under me and drop me down. You know, I got demoted without even doing anything wrong, and that was really like a kick in the balls to me. So one of the things that I would like to know is that when I went down like that was something like a $3 pay cut. So at the time I was living paycheck to paycheck. Now I'm like paycheck to 4 days before the next paycheck. You know, I was struggling. I couldn't keep up with bills or anything. My entire world was starting to fall apart. By that point in time, I was what? I think I was like 30, 33, 34, something like that. So I finally decided that it was high time to do what everyone's always saying, you know, which is get a better education, because the better education obviously means that you're going to go out and get a better job, right? A little windy here. I don't like that. So I go out, or I should say, I decided to go back to school. Well, at the time, ITT Tech was literally across the street from the complex. So I was like, screw it, I will go there. I didn't realize at the time, you know, like just how bad of a for-profit school they were. I mean, you know, anyone that knows anything about news knows that ITT ended up shutting down. I think it's been what, like 3 or 4 years ago. They ended up shutting down because the government finally talked to them about their abuse of the Fed loan program. But at the time, I chose to go there because they were doing night classes. It kind of sort of worked with my schedule, so I started doing that. Like I said, you know, it kind of sort of worked. You know, I would because my schedule for work was you show up at like, I think like 4:15 in the morning or something like that, 4:45, and you end up working until 4:15 in the afternoon. They were 10-hour shifts. You know, you had the he had the 2 breaks and lunch, and he worked like four days a week, and then I would go over and do the night class from like 6 to like midnight. So I would go home, get like a couple hours of sleep, and be right back at work again. That was a really rough year. Really rough year. After 1 year of going through that hell, the new manager for the lab came by, and she said that my old lead was planning on quitting and going to Seattle to kind of chase his own dreams. And before she put the position out on the boards, she asked if, you know, she wanted to come by and ask me specifically if I wanted it, because there were 3 of us that had all of the same training, and I was the last one left. So, you know, of course, you know, I immediately jumped all over that, because I mean, that was a massive raise, and it gave me more flexible hours. Really lifted really big rock off my shoulders there. So that kind of helped like a little bit there. But we went through the second year, and I completed the associates in college. I went through with design and drafting. Drafting and design, however they want to say. I know how to use the AutoCAD program, is what I'm trying to get at. So I ended up with this degree, and decided then, well, you know, I've got this, I should probably put it to use, right? So I started going out and looking for the drafting jobs, and then I kind of learned one of the awful truths of my home state, and the truth being is that companies don't pay the new grads jack. You know, because most of the places that I was looking at were only offering between like 12-14 an hour. I was making 10 in live test, and being back in the lab, she put me back in the lab as a tech 2, which meant that I was making like 15 an hour. The cost of living at that point in time was actually like 22. Yeah, I would have to make like $22 an hour just to make basic cost of living needs. So I mean, I was getting by on 15, but I mean, it was still like far short of having like of like a basic normal life. And here these drafting companies were only offering like, you know, between 12 and 14. So that was kind of a bummer, but I kept trying to convince myself that I could like move up in the world or whatnot, going through one of these jobs. And eventually I found a place on the other side of the state that did mechanical drafting, which was one of my strong points. So again, I mean, they only offered like 12, and you know, it was gonna be like a $3 pay cut. But I talked myself into it because, you know, the location was a smaller town. I figured cost of living is probably gonna be a little bit cheaper out there and whatnot. Blah blah blah. Let's go jump into it. So I ended up going out there, like right about Christmas time. And I got into that job and have been working in it for a while. And it was I think it was a week before the 4th of July where they pulled me aside and basically said that they would let me go. Apparently I wasn't up to the standards that they wanted. I wasn't working out, so bam, they got rid of me. And after that point, from that point until just about Christmas, I spent the rest of the year trying to apply for any job that I could in that area, and nothing was happening. And eventually, the unemployment ran out, and I couldn't afford to pay for anything. You know, I was down to like living on ramen soup and whatnot. You know, trying to avoid driving anywhere that I could because I drive a very gas-hungry vehicle. But eventually, I had to just give up. Call up my dad and say, hey, you know, I tried to do something and I failed. And he came out with his truck and his trailer. We got a couple funds scraped together. I got a U-Haul trailer. We packed everything I had. We took it to a storage, and I ended up at his place. And see, by that point in time, I was 37, and so I'm sitting there at his house, the house that you've seen in some of the videos, and I basically had a choice to make. I could either look for another dead-end job somewhere in the city, start the cycle over again, or I could start looking outside of the city, or outside of the state. So I'm looking elsewhere to try to move up. And that's when I started thinking about the truck driving again. You know, because one of the things that I wanted to do was actually kind of twofold. One, I wanted to make more, and two, I wanted to lower my cost of living needs. And when I was looking into truck driving, I was thinking about over the road, and I came up with this idea that I could basically just move into the truck, so that I wouldn't have to pay rent or anything like that, and working a job that just offered more in general. So that's when I started looking online, you know, seeing like who would pay for schooling and stuff like that, because at the time I was massively in debt. I had a whole bunch of people like breathing down my neck trying to ask me where their money was. Couldn't pay me anything because I didn't have anything. And my best friend at the time, he was working for a Love's truck stop over in his own small town, and he mentioned the company that I'm with now. He said, yeah, they help you with the schooling, you go through the training and stuff like that, and you go out on the road. And I was like, well, hey, that sounds cool. Called them up, got them all signed up. They sent the bus ticket, took a Greyhound bus out to Colorado. That there was a trip in itself. I mean, good Lord, man, there's a lot of shit that goes down on Greyhound buses. But got to Colorado, over to Denver, and then get picked up by a shuttle, head out to the school. They said to pack 2 bags, you know, like one with clothes, one with your personal belongings. And you know, which was easy for me because at that point that was pretty much all I had left. I had two bags with me. So that part there was really simple. And so I showed up there with my 2 bags, $10 in my pocket. That was it for my savings, and started the schooling. When they take you through the school, I mean, you know you're doing class like 6 days a week, and then you get Sundays off. And on the Sundays, I would go and do work for the guy that ran the school, because he owned like a lot of properties around town. And there was always something that he needed to have done, so I would offer to go do work for him, make a little bit of side cash.
Attention, a new important message has arrived.
So I go, you know, like do things like buy food and stuff. But you know, I guess the story really wasn't as long as I thought it would be. But that's basically, yeah. I mean, I tried to move up the way that everybody else is to do it. You know, it just didn't work out. You know, I spent all those years in my home state trying to work all these different jobs, and each year, you know, I had to keep tightening the belt because of expenses. And you know, it just, you know, it's like each year you just kind of, you know, lose your grip a little bit more. And that's actually really the same case for like a lot of people out there. I mean, you know, there's so many people that live this life where all it takes is like one thing. You just need one thing to go wrong, and you just lose it all. And that's exactly what happened to me. You know, I had no backup net or anything like that, and all it took was for that one thing to go wrong. And I lost everything, crashed and burned, and got back up and decided to go a different route. I think really now my only real regret is that I didn't follow this dream earlier and get into truck driving sooner. If I had done that, I would probably actually be like running my own fleet by now. Because you know, it's been five years of driving. The first 2, I didn't really make a whole lot of money. I mean, it's, you know, most of what I was doing in the first 2 years was just trying to play catch up with all of the bills that I was behind on. I mean, I had a lot of debtors trying to flag me down. So those first 2 years, I was just sitting there trying to get things sorted out, get things settled down. And then I started seeing like an actual savings pop up, in year 3, things started to really look up for me. One of the things that I really liked was that this is like the first company in like in those 15 to 20 years where I've actually have seen a raise. You know, I started getting raises. I started getting more money. I was like, yeah, I definitely made the right choice there. And while buying things at truck stops is much more expensive price-wise, I mean, you know, the truck stop jacks everything up like 100%. You know, bag of peanuts or something might be like $4 somewhere. Truck stop will, you know, will charge you like 8 to 12. I'll still never forget the fact that that Flying J, right down at the border of California and Nevada, it's the one that's connected to I think it's Whiskey Pete's. I went in there to get like a travel size thing of mayo because I really had a craving for mayo one day, and you know, the mayo bottle was like this big. That ended up costing me like $12, I think. It just blew my mind. I mean, you get mayo at a store for like $1.50, you know, like the big old jar, and it was $12 for that little bottle of mayo. It just blew my mind. I still bought it because, you know, wanted to satisfy my mayo cravings, but I couldn't believe that. But I mean, a bunch of other things worked out, you know. I don't really have to pay rent. I make truck payments, yeah. This is a lease truck. But the way that they pay a lease driver, it all kind of factors in. So, you know, really, I'm not really losing anything by paying on this. And plus the fact it's, you know, it's been teaching me how to work my way up to being a owner op. That's what makes it really great, right? And that's actually going to be the next phase of moving up in this industry. I've been saving up for the last few years. It's nice actually having a savings account, a checking, a savings. I've got a couple of other accounts out there that have all this money. You know, I have, in the whole time that I've been working, I've never had an account that's ever been past, say, like $1,000. And the only time that it's like that is usually when I got taxes back. Because of the fact that I fell behind on those bills for a while there, the government takes my taxes if there's ever taxes where I get money back. We've been working it though, so that I pretty much come out even each tax season. I don't really pay. I don't really get anything back. But yeah, the government takes out the taxes because I fell behind on the Fed loan. Oh, it sure got breezy. I need a flag. I need to find me a flag. See if I can figure out wind direction and all that. But even with that said, I mean, this has helped me cover bills. This has helped me start earning wages for myself instead of just working to pay a bunch of other people. Being in trucking has actually has actually improved my life in a lot of ways. know, it's great not having to look at your bank account before you want to order from the dollar value menu on at McDonald's. It's nice when my dad calls me up and says, "Oh, we need I need you to send $950 for your quarterly taxes," and 5 minutes later I'm like, "Yep, there you go, sent." Don't even have to worry about it. Don't have to think about where it's going to come from or anything. It's just, you know, it's just right there. I just file it off and boom, sent. And it's like I said, you know, I mean, that's a similar story that a lot of people have. There's a lot of people in trucking who end up leaving wherever it is that they're coming from, because they all have the same situation. You know, the area that they live in, you know, the job opportunities that they have aren't that great. You know, a lot of the warehouses that I deliver to, the truck drivers I talk to are the same people that used to work at these warehouses, because that's the only job that's in the area that makes basic, you know, that where they can make basically anything. Time to slow her down. Time to slow her down. 45 miles per hour. Those cattle pens. There's our flag. We're gonna add a decent clip. It looks like it's gonna be behind me now. Alright. The wind is behind me. I thought it felt like it was coming from this direction more, but I guess it would actually be from the other way. Yeah, the field of trucking is usually a place where a lot of people go when nothing else is working for them in wherever it is that they live. You know, there's a lot of people I've talked to who used to be like accountants or something like that, and they've just gotten too old for their job and they get replaced by newer guys or whatnot. Maybe somebody retired from their other job, but they don't really want to quit working yet. They come here. Or, you know, people who are just trying to make a better life. You know, simple fact of the matter is that this job, just when I was just starting out, what had me making more than my highest paying job back in my state. And I don't mean like a little bit. I mean, I was talking about like 8 to 10 grand more. That's a big giant jump there, you know. That's what helped me get a lot of bills sorted out. So I think we will call it quits at that point in time. It's been about 20 or 30 minutes, I think. I got a couple more ideas of things to talk about, and I'll probably work on those as I travel along on this trip, so I can get like a little string of videos up and going. In that case, I think right now I will say I will talk to you guys later.